Alright, welcome along. My name's Bosh. This is Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits. And today we're going to be looking at what I'm going to call Steppas Donk, Steppas, something along those lines. Basically got inspired by listening to the Northern Steppas Dub channel on YouTube, and I heard a tune and a very much like a Donk bassline, almost like from Donk, hardcore, hardstyle, all that kind of thing. Scouse house, whatever you want to call it. But tuned and changed slightly to fit with a dub and Steppas kind of vibe. So that's what I'm going to make today. Now, before we get into it, I always have to mention buymeacoffee.com/BoshDubs. You can go there and you can support the channel for the price of a coffee. And that's it. More important than that, that's lovely, and I love receiving any sort of support financially. But the main thing I want everyone to do is subscribe to the channel, like, share, comment, watch old videos, and all that kind of business. Interact with the channel, that's the main thing. If you've got any questions, I can always answer them. If you've got any video suggestions, I will happily take them on, because it's not always easy coming up with ideas. So without further ado, let's get into it. This is a Steppas Donk tune we're going to make. Very simple. Now, I've already written a bass line, just so we don't take up time me trying to write the actual music of a bass line. So let's just listen to that. Ooh, let me reset everything back to normal. Okay, so if you can hear the sub there, that's just sub bass, it's just a bass line. I've done nothing to it, all I've done is written the music for it. Now, to start making this into a donk, what I'm going to do is start adding oscillators in. Now, these are all your oscillators here in Operator, and I'm just going to start adding them in and trying to make a sound. Doesn't really matter too much. Doesn't matter too much how the sound sounds at the moment. You just want to make something quite thick, something that's got a bit of presence to it. Now I'm going to increase the spread on this, which means it's going to create a stereo bass line. This is important to remember, but equally there's something we need to do to make the sub right after we've done this. So I'm going to put the spread on. If you're wearing headphones, you'll hear it go from very central to split. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is make sure that all these oscillators are playing to the fullest, and you'll see what I mean when I do this. So have everything basically cranked up as high as you can. Your release, your decay, your attack, everything. Well, attack's going to be as low as possible. And then the one important thing is that your release is all the way as far as it can to the right hand side, and you'll see why in a second. Let's go through and do this with every track. Now, I've already done this with every track, so that kind of defeats the object. But then what that means is that this sound, you can control this whole sound with the first oscillator now. So you can see me changing the... Yeah. So now we can, the sound itself doesn't change apart from the volume parameters on the attack, decay, sustain. What's that bit called? Goes out your head. The envelope. It's there in front of me, the envelope. So now that all that sound's completely controlled by the envelope. Okay, so we've got the buzz, but it's still not really like a donk kind of sound. And you're simply going to do that by reducing your sustain. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is put some sub back into this. There's not much in the way of low end now. So what I'm going to do is delete that bass track. I'm going to click on the sub track, Control and D to duplicate. And then on the second one here, let's name the first one bass and the second one sub. The second one, we're going to take off all these oscillators. So it's just sub bass. Alright, we turn the volume up there. Okay, so now we've got a donk bass line and a sub. But we need to make this donk go a little bit more towards the dub side of things rather than being like an electronic sound. We want to make it sound a bit more organic. So let's have a listen to it again. Let me just solo that and that. I'm going to increase the release. That's wrong. I'm doing that on the wrong. Here we go. Alright, so I'm going to increase the release. Okay, it's less aggressive than the ending. Let's just rejig these a little bit. Okay, so the coarse tuning's on 2. It's a bit more where I want it. Let's put this other one on 4. Okay, we're getting a bit more to the territory that we want it in. Okay, now let's really sort of tune it in now. So I'm going to get a reverb, standard reverb, and we're going to put that on the bass channel but not on the sub. Now, one thing we need to do, if you remember I said that the spread is important, when we've got our sub channel, you need to pull that spread back down to 0 so that that's completely mono. The sub channel always needs to be mono so that it's the same on every speaker. There's no fluctuations, no phasing issues. And then your bass line itself can actually be whatever you want it to be. Alright, we've got a little bit of reverb now. That's already sounding better. So as we've been through before with the reverb, the size is creating the size of the room that your sound is in, and then the decay is how long that room is. So you've got a really small room with a long decay, yeah, or a big room with a short decay, it's going to change the sound. So let's do a big room with a short decay. Let's try a small room with a long decay. I want somewhere in between that. Put the sub back in. And now we're going to start building the kicks. We've got our ding, our donk, whatever it is. It's decent enough. So let's quickly build a drum kit. Go kick. I need to go into the Ableton samples, not mine. And I always need to remember that. They're all loops. Now for dub, I want a hard kick, but I don't want it to be too much top end. So let's try this. I need to drag it into my drum rack. Let's draw 4 kicks. Okay, now let's tune this kick a little bit. Now you hear that end bit, like we don't want the zoom. So I'm going to do fade out. Oh, just a bit, just like that. I'm going to slowly shorten it and see where we get to on this so we can remove that like sort of sound at the end. Now I'm going to increase the fade out a little bit more and then pull it back. I'm also going to tune. Why is that not playing? Let me just drag that kick in there again. Let me try dragging it into here again. There we go. Sometimes the EQ doesn't work properly in drum rack in the sampler. I don't know why. You have to re-drag the thing in. It does it for me anyway. So let's just quickly retune that. And then we're going to cut a little bit at the top. And then we're going to increase the volume. I might even put drum rack on there. Not drum rack. Is it drum bus? Just to beef it up a little bit. Alright, let's get some hats in there. This is sounding nice. Let's get some hats. That's nice. No, there's already some hats in there. Have I literally put in the same hat that I picked last time? That's hilarious. Alright, so next we're going to do... Alright, let's put a snare in there. Now the snare I'm going to try and find if I can find it. There's these ones. Is it these? They're all rims, but not really what I'm after. There's some that are like multi-hit, multi-sampled snares. Where are they? Ooh, they're not bad. Ooh, I might hit that one. Different vibe from what I picked last time, but let's give it a try. So let's add a skank in there quickly. We've got a very simple instruments. Let's do an organ. I want a light organ. Where am I going to get a good organ from? Let's try piano and keys. Let's do the flatliner. It's a classic. Why ain't that working? Have I dragged it onto the wrong channel? What's happening? My controller wasn't plugged in. All right. Let's put this up. That's what we want. We want less reverb. Reverb's too much. We'll do it ourselves. All right. And I'm not going to do the normal skank like cheng, 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 cheng. I'm going to do a faster one like a double time one. So it's like... Skank, 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 skank. Let's give it a try. Sounds a bit better if you leave it a little bit. If you stab it too much, it doesn't sound very good. You need to give it a little bit more. The one recording now. I'm going to make it short. Okay, so now we've got the bones of our tune. I'm gonna start playing around a bit more with the donk and see what kind of different sounds we can get, just by changing the volume of oscillators and things like that. So let's take this out for now, and let's just play with some stuff. Make this longer. you can change a reverb. Something else I'm going to do is, let's do Control and G. So click on the reverb, do Control and G, and then you're going to click on the little lines there. And then right click on the reverb, do Create Chain. And what you've done now is you've created a version of the donk that's got the reverb on it and a version that's clean. The chain is the clean one. And then the top one is the reverbed one. Now when we're doing this, we need to treat it a bit like a send and turn the reverb all the way up. Okay, now we've lost a bit of the donk, let's get that back. And now we can control this with the volume control. Okay, let's go back to editing the bassline itself. Let's try the filter. Right, we're getting into warp territory now. Alright, so you can see how there's loads of different kinds of sounds we can create just by messing around with Operator itself. And I think that's about it. I'm going to leave it there. The main thing to remember is to make your whole sound and then change the control the bass line. Try changing some of the waveforms. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. Alright, so that's a donk Steppas tune and how you can make sort of variations with it and things like that. I'm going to leave it there. My name's Bosh. This has been Bosh's Ableton Beginner Bits, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.